The birth of a thread. They said that in Uzbekistan we don't just wear clothes, we wear our history. Today we are tracing the heartbeat of a nation through a single fabric, Atlas. The journey begins not in a factory but in a garden. It starts with a humble silkworm and the emerald leaves of the mulberry tree. For 40 days, these tiny creatures prepare for their transformation, spinning a single continuous thread of a silk that can reach up to a kilometer in length. But in Fergana Valley, specifically in the ancient city of Margilan, this isn't just biology, it's an ancient ritual. The cocoons are gathered, softened in boiling water, and the delicate threads are unwound by hand. This raw silk is the white gold that forms the canvas for a masterpiece. The magic of Abrbandi. Now, this is where the magic happens. Unlike ordinary printed fabrics, the patterns of Uzbek Atlas are created through a technique called Abrbandi, which translates to tiny cloth. Before the weaving even begins, the master craftsman the Abrband marks the silk threads and ties them tightly with waterproof bundles. When the silk is dipped into walls of natural dyes, indigo for blue, madroid for red, pomegranate skin for yellow, the tied sections remain white. This process is repeated over and over, layer by layer, until the complex blurry patterns emerge. This is why our atlas is often called Ikat. When you look at the edges of the pattern, they seem to bleed into one another like a watercolor painting. It's an intentional imperfection that represents the fluidity of life and the shifting shapes of thought in our Central Asian style. Weaving the identity. The threads that move to the loom, the rhythmic clack 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 of the wooden loom is a soundtrack of Uzbek heritage. As the weaver works, the abstract patterns finally align to create the iconic panatlas, the kind of silk. But why does this matter so much to us? Because Atlas is our identity. For centuries, it has been a symbol of status, a dowry essential, and a festive centerpiece. From the Kelins, new brides, wearing their first morning Atlas, to the grandmothers passing down vintage robes, this fabric is woven into the very DNA of our social fabric. It represents the resilience of the Great Silk Road. Even when modern fashion moves toward fast, disposable trends, the Uzbek people have held onto Atlas as a badge of pride. It's vibrant, it's loud, and it's unapologetically us, the living legend. Today, Atlas has moved from the ancient madrasas to the international runways of Paris and New York, but its soul remains in the hands of the masters in Margilan. When you see someone wearing Atlas, you aren't just looking at silk and dye. You are looking at thousands of years of craftsmanship, the patience of a silkworm, and the vibrant spirit of the Uzbek people. It's more than a garment, it's a cloth captured in silk. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed this look into our culture, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from the heart of the silk.